Good evening. You are watching Goa 365 and I am Nisa Dias, here to remind you of the people and event that made news in the week that went by. Last week, the rape and murder of 15-year-old British tourist Scarlett Eden killing logged more airtime on local electronic channels and occupied large space in print media like never before. In fact, it has become more of a media trial, each trying to outdo the other. It started with a panel of GMC doctors submitting a second autopsy report with direction to police to treat the case as homicidal. However, between the first and the second report, no new evidence came to light. Only that the panel of doctors increased and the number of injuries on the corpus of the victim as two different marking schemes were adopted during both the autopsies. But both the reports stopped short of calling the injuries grievous which could lead to death. Both the reports indicated that death was due to drowning. Both the reports also does not mention rape, but interestingly, while Silvano Sapeco had verbally mentioned rape, second report conducted by panel of doctors indicate hymen tear, but do not speak of the period, meaning whether the tear was recent or historical. Hence, the police team registered the case under rape and murder, and mind you, it looked like they are not done with it. In the course of the investigation, they are likely to add more sections. Armed with the second report, police made their first arrest of Samson D'Souza, a barman at Louis Shack, who according to witnesses saw the victim and the accused indulging in oral sex. And then they arrested Placido Carvalho for giving the victim drugs. And as usual, the police then changed their version to claim that the victim was repeatedly sexually assaulted, and coupled this with drugs, she died. In the same breath, the police claimed Placido is not involved in the rape. Hence, it could only be Samson that raped her repeatedly. Hats off to Inspector General of Police of Goa, Kishan Kumar. He has increased sexual prowess of Samson D'Souza of repeatedly sexually assaulting Scarlett within an hour, and that too when the victim was in a highly intoxicated state. IGP Kumar should be given an award for such a lustful imaginary powers. And because of the supervisory direction to the investigating officer, the family and their lawyer demanded that the case be handed over to the CBI for investigation, as they have lost faith in the Goa police. Police now claim they require the accused to trace the source of drug trade along the northern belt. The police are very much aware of the kingpins and politicians involved in the drugs, and the police officers and even constables are on their payroll, and therefore the trade is flourishing in North Goa. Furthermore, given any seizure of drugs, the police in their reply opposing bails has one paragraph wherein they state that they need the custody of the accused to trace the source, but decades have passed, the police have not booked even one drug lord, whom they have nabbed are petty couriers and runners, but never the dealers. Now coming to the next aspect of investigation in the death of Scarlett, PSI Nellon Albuquerque was suspended from service for dereliction of duty. Not that it is anything new for him, he was suspended earlier too and subsequently reinstated. However, these suspensions are just an eyewash and are based on the theory that public memory is short. With the exception of former DYSP Shirish Thorat, there is no officer or even a constable who has been dismissed from service. They are surely reinstated, and there are n number of instances. Ironically though, Fiona's in Nellon's life are bad omen to his personal and professional life. There was another Goan by name of Fiona in his life in the early 2000s, who after getting to know Nellon very closely migrated overseas. And while the police were quick to initiate action against PSI Nellon, the government is yet to initiate any action against Dr. Silvano Sapeco, who we feel is equally responsible for the goof up. In spite of the demand made by Tourism Minister Miki Pacheco for Dr. Sapeco's suspension, he continues to be in office, but then right political contacts help, which the Medico knows very well. While the local and the national media has gone overboard with the case holding the police and state administration responsible, one national channel has even said Goa is no more safe for tourists and that it is the beginning of the end of Goa. Such an irresponsible statement as one death or even a murder does not make all the Goans murderers. Ironically though, this journalist, native of Kolkata, who made this statement, has made Goa his home. However, the media in England has taken just an opposite stand. They have been very critical of the victim and her mother. Fiona McEwan today stands exposed for serving 1 year jail term for trying to attempt to murder a man and bearing 9 children of different males. The media in England also claims that Fiona knew very well that Scarlett was doing drugs back in England and was also sexually active and have even once visited family planning center. And in Goa, Fiona claims that she left her 15-year-old daughter in the safe hands of 20-year-old Julio Lobo. Last week, one domestic tourist and a local lost their lives in a road accident at Nuvem. A minibus and a sumo travelling in opposite direction had a collision resulting in the deaths. Many others were injured. Almost every week, so many lives are lost due to road accidents, and it is very imperative that government enforces High Court orders of fixing of speed governors compulsorily for heavy vehicles. Though the Chief Minister is very adamant of making it mandatory, the delay is disturbing, and at the same time, precious lives are being lost. The dream of Sudhin Daulikar came true last week as he was re-inducted in the cabinet he had deserted in July 2007 to support a new government. And the sacrificial lamb was Pandurang Matkaikar, who was unceremoniously dropped. However, what was surprising was that the Congress flock abstained from attending the swearing-in ceremony. Even the Chief Minister, who was compelled to be present, was not his usual self and wore a stern look throughout the low-key ceremony. With the induction of Sudhin, it was amply exposed that the resolution of the Congress Legislative Party not to drop any Congress minister to make place for the MGP prodigal did not hold any water at the high command level, and the coordination committee comprising of Congress and NCP toed independent MLAs Vishwajit Rane's line. As the things stand now, it does not look like the new entrant in the cabinet will get much cooperation from his other cabinet colleagues, and that would set the ground for another revolt against the government. On the same day after the swearing in, Chief Minister was trying to console Matkaikar as he could not come to